The cabinet of France's new Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, is set to be announced on Thursday following his stunning promotion to the top office by President Emmanuel Macron. That was 2 days earlier on Tuesday. He's expected to choose a cabinet with an eye on June's European elections, and one that can also allay doubts regarding his ability to lead at such a young age. Well, let's bring in our French politics chief editor, Marc Perelman, to discuss more. Marc, the importance of this cabinet reshuffle, can you just explain, especially under Gabriel Attal?
Well, Gabriel Attal is the major reshuffle, one should say, because he is unlike the previous Prime Minister, Emmanuel Macron, because he's a known quantity and he's popular, which was not the case. So this is probably the biggest reshuffle. We're waiting in the next minutes or so for the key ministers to be announced. This will be done formally at the Élysée Palace. The Chief of Staff comes before a microphone and gives the name of maybe 10, 15 key ministers. There might be a second wave of appointments next week, but everyone is waiting for this. But according to what we know, the main ministers, the heavyweights, will remain in place unless there is a last-minute surprise. This means that Bruno Le Maire, who's been finance minister for 7 years now. He's been there since the election, the first election of Emmanuel Macron, will remain in place. The interior minister, Gerald Darmanin, whom we saw with Gabriel Attal yesterday in a police station, will also stay. The justice minister, Éric Dupond-Moretti, also very likely to stay. Defense minister, Sébastien Lecornu, also likely to stay. So those are really the key ministers. Obviously, there's going to be a new education minister, because who was the education minister until just a week ago? Gabriel Attal himself. So this will be an important appointment. There's also likely to be a new health minister, because the health minister, the previous one, resigned over the controversial immigration bill because he didn't agree with this. He was replaced by an interim minister who is not likely to remain, because obviously health and education are important issues. So we'll have to see if there are some surprises. The only thing that I gave you were only males, and that's a problem, because obviously, having gender balance is a key. And there was gender balance, more or less, but yes. But however, some have argued that the key ministers are held by men. And so there would need to be a major promotion for women in maybe some of these ministries. Word is that the foreign minister, Catherine Colonna, a woman, was not very well liked by Emmanuel Macron, because he feels that she's not vocal enough, not present enough. Well, because she's a woman, she might stay in that key position. She might be replaced by another woman. Now, everything also depends on the general architecture, men, women, the different parties supporting Emmanuel Macron, his party, the Modem centrist party, Horizon, which is the party of his first prime minister, Edouard Philippe. This is a balancing act, so this is why it takes time. But we should have the first and main wave of announcements in the next few minutes, if not hours, today here in Paris.
And what exactly are critics saying about any potential reshuffle, besides the fact that there is a perceived gender imbalance? I mean, on the face of it, you've got these heavyweights who are remaining in power. They have been largely a part of the administration, which has been responsible for the likes of the pension reform, many other things which have not gone down too well in French society. Is this just a case of optics?
Clearly, in the optics, as I said, it's just the Gabriel Attal effect. Because yes, he's been quite popular. Some are saying it's just, hot air, and that he's essentially good at communicating. But this was something Elisabeth Borne was particularly not good at. She was stiff, she was serious, she was not at ease speaking, and this is the total opposite with Gabriel Attal. But on the whole, yes, the same ministers are in position, the same policies are likely to be implemented. He will probably address the National Assembly next week, and we'll see what his main priorities are. But the good news for him is that some of the most controversial measures have already been passed by Elisabeth Borne. The pension reform that you mentioned, a very controversial immigration bill. So he might have to deal with maybe less controversial issues, but the political equation remains the same. And that's been a real problem for Emmanuel Macron since his re-election. He only has a relative majority in the National Assembly. So this has been a problem, and he hasn't really learned how to work with other parties at the National Assembly. His party has been isolated, sometimes taken aback by some parliamentary maneuvers. So Gabriel Attal will have his work cut out for him, because he still needs to rally some other voices to reach out across the aisle. And that's going to be difficult, because none of the other parties are willing to make any presence right now. They know Emmanuel Macron is not popular. They know the government is not popular. So why help someone who's wounded? If you can kill him, they will certainly not hesitate. We'll have to see if there is indeed Gabriel Attal effect that will, I would say, overshadow the fact that he's keeping the same ministers in place and that he owes everything, his reputation, his rise, to Emmanuel Macron.
An incredibly important first statement as Prime Minister for Gabriel Attal coming up.